Friday, y'all. We welcome now Ashley Edwards, coastal Mississippi entrepreneur, former president and CEO of the Gulf Coast Business Council, and also a SuperTalk Mississippi news column contributor. Ashley, good to see you again.
Hey, good afternoon, Gerard. How are you today?
Doing fantastic. Just having some fun here on the program. Wrapping up what has been quite a busy week and looking forward to Thanksgiving next week. Wanted to have you on the program to talk about a recent article that you have published, as you have been contributing quite a bit at the SuperTalk Mississippi website. Talk to us about this one. It's entitled Battle for the Soul of the GOP. I believe that's it, right? The candidates spar in the pivotal Miami debate. I caught that one as well. It was truly a sleeper, honestly. What did you think?
Well, you know, it was. It's been interesting. I love watching these presidential debates every year. It's, you know, when you're a political junkie like I am, it's kind of political season. So it's nice to do this stuff. But on the same note, what I saw on that stage, I think, is emblematic of the bigger issues that really are going on right now in the Republican Party. And, you know, you kind of go back over the course of the last 6 weeks or so, starting with the ouster of Speaker McCarthy in the House by a relatively small group of House members, just the ensuing messiness of trying to find a speaker. They obviously settled on Mike Johnson after a while. It took a while to get there. Some of the things that have happened this week, and then you look at that debate stage, and you know there really are a lot of voices in the Republican Party right now. And that debate, remember, Gerard, was coming off the heels of election defeats earlier that week. And so as I wrote that column, you know, I was really looking at how are Republicans going to get back in the winning column. And the point of the column really was to make the central point of the Republican Civil War has to end. Representative Mike McCall, Congressman Mike McCall from Texas, had made that statement during the speaker debates in Washington saying, you know, we have to stop this civil war. And I agree with that. I mean, we look around at us. We have a country and a world right now that is in desperate need of leadership. And in some ways, I think the Republican Party continues to kind of get in their own way. And I hope that we're not going to be in a situation here where they're going to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory yet again, because when we see just how unpopular Joe Biden is, when you look at the strife going on from the world perspective, we need leadership. And so right now it would be really great if the Republican Party could come together behind a message and a platform. But when you watch these debates, you watch the things that are happening in Washington, the Republican Party is doing anything but that right now.
Sure seems like it. Of course, since then, Senator Tim Scott has exited the race, and so it really seems to be Trump's to lose based on all the polls. Nikki Haley seems to be in close proximity. I'd say closer than the other candidates. I wouldn't put Chris Christie too high up on the list. Asa Hutchinson didn't qualify for the debate. He's still in the race. Doug Burgum as well didn't qualify, the governor of North Dakota, still in the race. But those that were there, the five that were there, one has dropped out. It's really kind of down to Trump and Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis. They've been in Iowa, as you know, speaking and presenting to the folks in Iowa their vision for the country. But I don't know. It just seemed to be a little juvenile. Certainly the exchange between Ramaswamy and Nikki Haley. I don't think the voters want to see or hear that, honestly. I was very disappointed in Ramaswamy, I'll admit, early on. I really liked his message. He's brilliant. You still can't deny that. And I don't think he's necessarily on the wrong side of most of his policy positions. I think he's aligned properly, but his personality is hurting him. And I think it really showed itself in that debate. And I think he's a short timer at this point. What'd you come away with?
Very similar observations to what you just made, Gerard. I mean, I think a lot of his behavior is starting to be very stuntish at this point. You know, and it doesn't seem presidential. I mean, you know, what really bothers me about the current state of politics, regardless of what party you affiliate with, is the fact that statesmanship has become sort of a bad word. You know, people that can be leaders, people that can try to create coalitions. And so I never have thought the politics of division is a winning strategy. There's a lot of that playbook going on in the Republican Party right now. And at the end of the day, my old boss, Haley Barbour, used to say, politics is about winning elections. If you don't win elections, it doesn't matter what your platform is, because if you're not governing, if you don't have the ability to enact those policies, then at the end of the day, what's the value of it? And so it's really about winning elections. And it seems that the problem that Democrats had historically was they had a hard time winning elections. They were able to get into these very small, sort of divisive political lanes, a lot of infighting in their party, which allowed Republicans sometimes to take a more moderate, kind of center-right position and win big national elections. And the script has flipped a bit. Arguably, the election in 2024 may be the most winnable presidential election that we've seen in a generation. The fear is that right now the Republicans are so busy fighting amongst themselves, the pro-Israel group versus the anti-Israel group, the pro-Ukraine group versus the anti-Ukraine group, the Ramaswamis versus the Nikki Haleys. It's creating so much division within a party that needs to be finding a way to come together to win a very pivotal election that is coming up in a short period of time. As you noted, it really seems like DeSantis, Haley, and Trump are going to be the last three standing, really the only three that would have the financial ability to stay in this race. It looks like you could see Nikki Haley potentially come in second to Trump in some of those early states. And Trump does look like the candidate to beat right now. Of course, Chris Christie is spending all his time on TV warning folks, he could be a convicted felon come election day, which presents its own set of problems, obviously, for the American electorate. But whatever the Republican Party does, they have to put themselves in a position to be victorious in the election. And, what we see going on in Congress right now would suggest they're going to have a hard time holding on to the small majority they have.
Yeah, that certainly looks that way as well. And I've seen some recent polls, you probably have as well, that show that Trump, DeSantis, and Haley all beat Joe Biden in the polls.
Yeah.
It's by a small amount, honestly, but all three of them show. Now, that's in popular polls. The popular vote, as we know, doesn't really matter. But it's a pretty good indicator of kind of where voters' heads are right now. I think the vast majority of people in this country are starting to see more and more every day that Joe Biden is just not up to another term. And I talked about it on the show after his meeting this past weekend with Xi Jinping. He just looked more frail than ever, in my view. In contrasting his meeting with him about this time last year, just looks like significant decline over that year. I mean, because of his age, it's not being critical of him as much as it is just observing reality of aging. And I think people are seeing that and they're worried.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I mean, and look, the polls clearly demonstrate that. How often do you have an incumbent president sitting in the upper 30s in approval rating that is sliding towards re-election? I mean, it's unheard of in American history. In fact, really, one analog you have for that is when Barack Obama, going into the 2012 election, was sitting at about 39% approval rating, but he saw his numbers improve over time, and he was able to defeat Mitt Romney. I'm not sure that the country's in a place now that you're going to be able to pull from that bag of tricks again. Now, and look, I think that the other thing that is just striking to me, Gerard, when you listen to the vernacular and kind of the dialectical conversations going on the left, it is clear they are very concerned about Joe Biden being at the top of the ticket. They see the vulnerability there. And so, Republicans ought to smell blood in the water, so to speak. But you watch that debate, you watch a lot of the things that are going on. Not a lot of folks are running against Joe Biden right now. They're running against each other. And that's a good look with a year to go.
And that seems to be the case. It's more about just blasting and tarring Trump than it is promoting Biden. And I think the analysts and the Democrats surrogates know that's probably not a successful strategy at this point. Always appreciate your insight. Great article, by the way, as well. Ashley Edwards, Coastal Mississippi entrepreneur, a former president, CEO, Gulf Coast Business Council, and writes great pieces for SuperTalk Mississippi News. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Ash.
Thank you so much.
We're coming right back, folks, in the Element Wealth studio. Stay with